Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the rebbeim podcast. This one is very special because I don't have a typical head of yeshiva and seminary in this episode. As you could tell, there are four very special guests that join me today. Moshe Razi, Mark Rosenstock, Eli Tannenbaum, and Caleb Eden. Those are the Mivad Seret and Torah Shrag ambassadors that we have for Israel Gap Year. And the reason why I'm doing this episode is I have been doing Israel Gap Year for about 6 years. I speak with hundreds of kids in high school and parents, and I really get to hear how stressful the process sometimes is for a lot of people in picking the perfect yeshiva for the following year. So I said, you know what? I did this episode with the seminary girls to help, seminary girls in their seminary decision. I did this a few months ago. And now I just want to repay the favor and do it with yeshiva guys. And this episode, we just filmed it, was very, very enlightening from a practical standpoint of just advice from guys that are a year ahead of everybody that's hopefully listening to this episode. So stick around, buckle your seatbelt wherever you guys are. Feel free to share this episode with somebody that you think could hopefully benefit from everything we discussed today. Without further ado, it's time to jump into our episode. Enjoy. Welcome to the Israel Gap Year rebbeim podcast. I'm your host, Avi Proctor, and in each episode, we get rebbeim in depth into the remarkable lives of individuals in Israel who dedicate themselves to inspiring the next generation of Klal Yisrael. We are ready to rock and roll. I am joined right now by four amazing people. For the people that are watching this right now online, we're going to flash them on screen for a second. We got our to the right on my screen, we got our phenomenal Shrag ambassadors, Caleb Eden and Eli Tannenbaum. There you go, fist it. And then on my left, we got the boys from Mevs. We got Moshe Razi, we got Mark Rosenstock. These four guys right now, for those that are listening, if you have never heard who they are, check out their takeovers on Israel Gap Year. They've been doing a phenomenal job this year. And happens to be the reason why I decided to pick you guys today is because I happen to know you guys a little bit. I think you guys have a lot to share and a lot to give in terms of insight for the guys that are probably listening to this that are in high school right now. And honestly, probably a lot of parents too that are going to be listening to this episode. So without further ado, I want to jump and I'm going to pick you guys out randomly when I ask the questions in terms of the order of who will answer. But I want to take it back to last year, okay? You guys, Baruch Hashem, right now, you're coasting, you're having a good time, you're in yeshiva, everything's good. You know exactly what the process turned into be of picking a yeshiva. But obviously everyone says hindsight is 2020. It's much easier to look back and be like, oh, why was I stressing? I shouldn't have stressed about this. This was so easy. This didn't matter. But now we're going to get into it and give back to the guys that might be in your shoes just a year before. Okay. So I'm going to start off with Eli Tannenbaum. Okay. My boy from Maryland representing. I'm going to ask you the first question and then we'll go from there. Take me back to last year. At this point in the year, when you have to begin to pick out the yeshivas that you want to go to, what was going through your mind in terms of that part of the decision process?
So I was split between two places, and I wasn't really sure where I was going. They're hashkafically pretty different. So I very much needed to reach out to a lot of different people who were at those yeshivos, and talking to them definitely helped me decide where I was going to go. Also, my Israel guidance counselor, Rabbi Moshe Grossberg, was very helpful, and he led me down the right path for sure.
Shout out to him. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Wow, you know what? We're rolling. Rabbi Olshin.
Hello, Olshin.
Yeah, sorry about that.
This is what we do. When we have podcasts, I'm not even cutting. Say hi to everybody. We're filming another podcast. Rabbi Olshin was interviewed a few weeks ago. Big stuff. If you haven't checked out the Shraga Hezder Program podcast, plug in that right there. I'll put a link in the description. So I'm going to ask you a follow-up, Eli, and then we're going to jump over to Mark, okay? For you at that point last year, when you're debating between two yeshivas, is this one more for me hashkafically? Is this one not for me, hashkafically? How did you end up, deciphering between which one you wanted to go to?
So I looked at not just like the hashkafa, but also the schedule of the day and what helped, like what worked better for me versus like a more like, I don't know, class-based schedule versus a more like Gemara Seder built schedule. And like just knowing myself, that helped decide which one would have been better for me.
Love that. Awesome. Throw it to Mark. Take me back to last year.
All right, last year, I had amazing Israel guidance from Avi Shulman Shlita on MTA. And I was also on the YU campus. So a lot of guys on the YU campus, I'll be able to talk to them and see what type of guy and see what fits for me, So I narrowed it down between two and three yeshivas. Again, I looked at scheduling, I looked at location. It's a perfect location for me. The campus is beautiful, and yeah, all the factors combined really turned out to really what I wanted. Great food, nothing matters but great food, and the rebbeim are awesome. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me.
Got you. I'm going to ask you a follow up to that one, which is going back to that time period when you were deciding between three yeshivas. Were you nervous in terms of like narrowing it down to one? Like, was that hard to? Obviously, you're in Mivaser right now, Baruch Hashem. You're having a great time, but was that hard for you to kind of bring it to one?
Yeah, definitely at the start it was tough. My route that I went is I kind of clipped off the third yeshiva that I was looking into, but I wasn't so much into, and then I narrowed it down to two. And between those two, I kind of figured out what works best for me, between the schedule, between the rebbeim, and which shear I would possibly be put into. And the shear was a big aspect for me personally. So I'm in the Isaacson shear, and it's the best fit. So I talked to a lot of guys that went last year, and it turned out really good.
Geschmack. Okay, now we're throwing it back to the Shraga boys. Mr. Caleb, give me the rundown.
So this time as well, I was definitely stuck between two places, and up until this point, I'd definitely done my fair share of research on pretty much everything about the yeshivas. So when it came this time, obviously the rebbeim come and they do their interviews, and really for me, it was when I interviewed with one place of Shraga, that I really felt that I had that connection with the rebbeim. The rebbeim, because they bring two rabbis, that I was talking to face to face, and so that was really what pushed it over the edge for me. And then by the end, I think you also get like a gut feeling to follow, and then I think obviously one should follow that gut feeling.
Got you. So I was gonna actually ask. I was gonna ask on that the follow up of, as you said, like you had your interview with the rabbi from Shraga, right? And you had that gut feeling. But for somebody that doesn't necessarily have that gut feeling, what's your one tip for them? That's like, man, I'm so confused. I don't know where to go. Like, what would you tell that person?
I would tell that person to speak to guys that they think are similar to them in those yeshivas that they know will be honest to them. Because a lot of times, obviously, most people, thank God, love the yeshivas that they're in. So sometimes they might project that onto other people, even if the yeshiva might not be right for them. So I think it's important to find people that there will be honest and tell you how it is and tell you that it might be great for them, but not for you. And then hopefully after that, and after the interviews, and after hopefully visiting, if you have the opportunity, then you'll make your cheshbon of where to go, and Chazras Hashem, you'll be in the right place.
That was an epic plug for Israel Gapper. You got to talk to the students. That's what we're here to do. So now our final guy, Mr. Moshe Razi. Take me through last year.
Okay, so last year, I mean, the way that I went through it was that I reached out to my Israel guidance, and they told me three yeshivas. So they told me X, Y, and Z. And when I had X, Y, and Z, I would then go and I went on NTSY Kollel for 2 years, Baruch Hashem. So I was able to reach out to people that went to these yeshivas, like Shalvim, Mez, whatever. So I would ask them, I would say, I told them, I said, what are two big things that you really like about your yeshivas and two things you think the yeshiva could work on? Because that way, when you ask them that, you see both the pros and the cons to the yeshiva. When I did that, I was able to see exactly what was happening within the yeshiva, and I got a general sense of the yeshiva. On top of that, I also went with Eula to Israel, and I got to see Mez, I got to see Shalvim, I got to see Nativ, I got to see all these big yeshivas. And Baruch Hashem, when I went there, I was able to see how the kids were talking with each other, how the shears were working, and I did all of that. Then I got back home, and I still wasn't sure because they were all such great yeshivas. Every single place, I saw so many tremendous pros, and I didn't really know. So I remember I was just sitting there, like with my parents. I'm like, what am I meant to do? Like, I don't know. Like, this is a great yeshiva. This is a great yeshiva. And I think just something that like changed it for me was I was like, you know, the chevra, I'm always going to have a chevra, and like, I'm always going to have close friends no matter where I go. But rebbeim are something that are really big for me. And I think that's something that's really big about Mevs is that we have really good rebbeim that care and are so dedicated to you. Like the amount of times that you could just talk to your Rebbe, like I've personally had talks with Rosh Steinertz, who's one of my close rebbeim, at like 1 a.m. where he's just able to fully help and like hear my side and just like try and help me as best as possible, which is just really something why I chose Mevs, was because the rebbeim were so dedicated and really were loving and passionate and really cared about you and every single guy within the yeshiva.
I love that. And I want to say, I'm just going to echo that because I think it's important for people to realize that it's not only in Mivaseret that the rebbeim are epic. I know a lot of rebbeim in many different yeshivas, and it's something important for people to keep in mind that, it's a general klal, a rule for most yeshivas is that the rebbeim are here to sacrifice themselves and their time and their personal life in that regard to just be here to assist you. So now the next question, I'm going to start in reverse order. So Moshe, you got to answer this one. Is that obviously that's how you were feeling last year, but I want to pinpoint specific nerves, right? Because I think for a lot of people in this point in the year, they're very, very nervous. They're in high school, they're in it. They're like, how in the world am I expected to be able to sit for 10 plus hours a day and just sit and learn? And majority of the yeshivas, it's mostly Gemara. And for a lot of kids, it's just boring. And it's not it when you're in high school, right? So take me through last year. What were some of the nerves that you were feeling at this point in the year? And then how did kind of that play out once you kind of resolve those?
That's a really good question. I would say I was very nervous. I definitely was nervous. I just tried maximizing my senior year and realizing like I need to go to yeshiva because yeshiva is a place where I know I'm going to grow the most. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a place where you might not be familiar with the surroundings. Israel is very hard. It's much different than America. But like, through difficulty is where you grow the most. And that was my mindset. Even though I knew 100%, I was very nervous inside. It was very much like, I want to stay in America. I want to stay with my family. But if you want to grow, you have to do challenging things, which is where my mind was at. And I decided I'm going to maximize times with my friends, time with my rebbeim and Eula, times in high school. High school is a great place, but yeshiva is the place where you're going to grow the most. You're going to have the most understanding of the Torah. You're going to be real. You're going to understand. And that's just really something I would love to take away and give advice to. Just maximize your high school year and understand yeshiva is going to be hard. It's going to be challenging, but you're going to grow the most through it.
Love that advice. And for anybody who's listening, take it to heart. You just enjoy the time with the boys. Enjoy the time in your senior year. And obviously, I'm not saying do anything crazy. Everybody's got to know their own level, but just enjoy the time. Now I'm going to throw it back to our boy from New York, Mr. Caleb. What were the nerves for you last year?
So I actually had like two sets of nerves. The first set of nerves was when I picked one place over the other. I for a little bit I had that FOMO. I think I was gonna have that FOMO of not being in the other place. But if people have that decision anxiety and they pick one place and they're having FOMO about another place, what I would say is just like to keep telling yourself that you made your decision, be confident in it, and then go in and just try to block out. Obviously, it's easier said than done, but the more you just focus on the path they're going on, now that's the way to obviously do that. And at once, I was very focused on where I was going. Obviously, there's the classic nerves. I'm in a different country, completely different schedule. Like I've never sat and learned Gemara for more than 25 minutes in my life, like that type of thing. But then I think it's important to realize that yeshiva is a place where you really get to fully dedicate yourself to Hashem and without any other distractions if you do it properly. So knowing that I was going to a place with that environment, even though I had these fears, I kept telling myself that people go through this all the time and they come out so much happier. So definitely looking at other people's experience, knowing that they definitely were as nervous or even more nervous than I was going in, was always like a way to calm myself down. Knowing that I'm pretty much going with all my friends also to Yeshiva. It's not just me going into this quote unquote scary experience on my own. So knowing that you're going with other people and you're knowing what the goal is, and it's such an important goal for life, just having those two things in your head going in is definitely a great way to help.
I love those 2 points. I'm going to echo the first one you said because I was waiting to bring that up at some point in the episode, and the fact that you did. Geschmack. The first thing that you said, which was your nerve, was that when you made that decision, you go on the Joint Yeshiva application website, you click that button, and you're like, oh boy, did I make the right decision? And then like you basically, like everybody goes through this on a certain level, right? Like it's just, you start questioning, like you put so much thought into these yeshivas, like maybe I should have done the other one. And then at the end of the day, once you get into yeshiva, you're never ever in your yeshiva and you're never thinking, oh, what would it have been like if I went to that place, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you agree with me on that one. It's a very important point. Now I'm going to throw it back to Mark. Take me through your nerves that you had last year.
I was very nervous personally about also sitting and learning for 3 hours straight in the morning. It's not easy. Again, in high school, we never did it for more than half hour, 45 minutes at a time. And me, I like taking breaks. I can never sit for like an hour or two doing the same things. It just gets repetitive. So one thing Mivaseret is very good at, which I'd asked previous people about, there's so many like shiurim that wherever you go, they're going to place you in a place that's good for you and a place that's going to help accommodate you for whatever you need. So my shiur, again, we're in the base for about 2.5 hours, so I can take a break whenever I need to. And again, I'm with my friends, so being in shiur, it's I love it. Being in shiur is like one of my happiest times of the day. Baruch Hashem, but that was my nerves, really, really sitting down and buckling in. Then, I realized my rebbeim explained to me, like, listen, you have 1 year, you maybe 2 if you're lucky, but you really have 1 year to maximize your growth from, start at point A to point B, and you want that difference to be as much as you can get it to. So really sitting down and buckling down, and removing distractions also. I was a big phone guy. I was on my phone a little too much. So a big thing that I switched up was leaving it in my room and just forgetting about it for the first part of the day. That really helped me, and Mark Shem, it's been amazing ever since. So really, really, really maximizing your time would be a big.
It's a really good point. I think, first of all, I'm going to have to do a podcast on being successful in yeshiva at some point. Of, as you said, phenomenal. Leaving your phone in the room is one of the greatest things you could do. And really, like, it's a commonality that I'm getting from both of you, from both of you guys. And honestly, I speak to yeshiva guys all the time, is that when you're in high school, it's so hard to think like literally you don't learn for probably like more than 30, 45 minutes at a time. And then all of a sudden you get thrown into yeshiva, but it's like, it's a different environment and it's a different world. And when everybody's around you doing it, in a certain way, it just makes it easier, in my opinion, from what I've seen for a lot of people. So definitely a good point. And honestly, I'm glad you love Rev 6 and Shiur. It's a phenomenal time. Eli, take me through last year.
So my biggest thing coming out of high school is that sitting in shiur was very hard for me, because it was just like, I don't know, it felt like a class to me. I was in like such, like, so into like learning in general, or just like the class structure felt like, I don't know what's going on with that, but like my biggest nerve was like, I don't know how to learn, like I don't know, like I don't necessarily like learning, but something that changed once I got to yeshiva was, like, once you learn that Gemara or Chumash or whatever you're learning isn't a class, it's like you're choosing to do it, all this stuff, then it changes your whole mindset. It becomes so much more enjoyable, and like I was just able to actually enjoy my learning versus like, am I gonna know this for the test? Like, what's going on? So that was definitely my biggest nerve.
Totally. And it's something that people don't even realize, because when you're in high school and the structure of your learning is you come in, you have a class, and you get tested on it, and then you get graded. But something what's so beautiful about yeshiva is that it's a completely different way of going about it, which honestly cultivates a love for Torah, hopefully, for a lot of people.
I also think it's important to add that obviously when you get to yeshiva, they're obviously going to ease you into it. They know that you've been in a completely different environment for the past 18 years. What you're doing in Elul, which is the beginning of the year, is going to be a lot different than what you're doing now in Shvat, which I think is very important to know going in, that you're going to be comforted and helped along the way to gradually do more and more, and at everyone's own pace, of course, as well.
I'm so glad you're adding that. And I think it's very important for people in high school to remember this, is that, when you come into yeshiva, the typical yeshivas that are on Israel Gap Year, the mainstream call it modern Orthodox yeshivas and seminaries also, if girls are listening to this, they know where you're coming from. They do not expect you to come into yeshiva in the beginning of the year and just sit down and literally learn for 2.5 straight hours. And I'm going to give a personal shout out to Rabbi Schneider from Shraga. And I think this story will hopefully help a lot of people, is that when I was in yeshiva 5-6 years ago, I remember I came in beginning of Shana Aleph, I sit down in the base medrash, and we come up and they give you sheets to learn, to have fun with your chavrusa, right? But just obviously to start learning. And he says to everybody before we come in, this was on the first day, he says, you know what? He says, you're going to be in here for an hour and a half with your chavrusa. He says, if you give me 5 minutes of learning, but an hour and 25 minutes of schmoozing, I'll take it. And then 2 weeks later, he's like, if you give me 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then obviously so on and so forth, as the year goes on, the numbers dwindle down. But it's not only something that I'm just giving that example from him in Shraga, but it's in so many yeshivas. And if anybody's listening to this, I know you're probably stressed and you're probably thinking, how in the world am I going to do this in yeshiva? But all the yeshivas are understanding and they know where you're at. And it's all about a relationship. You communicate with your rebbeim. You're having an easy time with this or hard time with this. And Bizrat Hashem will work with you guys together. So the next thing I want to kind of throw out in terms of our conversation, which is a part of the overall discussion, but I think it's a very important piece, which is when you're in high school, you have a certain view on yeshiva. And then obviously you get to yeshiva, And sometimes you're like, wow, I did not expect that at all in terms of how it played out. So I'm gonna throw it back to Moshe. Okay, when you were in high school, now that you're in yeshiva, what's one thing that you're like, that was so not what I expected? If you have one thing.
Honestly, I like Baruch Hashem, I kind of got a feel for yeshiva when I was here, and like there wasn't something that was so unexpected to me. Maybe it was like, oh, I didn't realize how hard it was gonna be having such a long day, and then like not sleeping so much and still having to show up. That was probably like the biggest thing. But everything really else, I kind of already got.
I got you. I'm glad that you didn't have. I'm glad it wasn't a shell shock for you when you got off the plane in Israel. I'm gonna throw it back to Caleb.
Honestly, I actually have to agree. I thank God going in, because I was, especially from Morshah, a lot of guys in the past that worked there came from Shraga. I talked to them a lot and kind of got a vibe of yeshiva. I guess if there's one thing I would say that I didn't expect, was like that there are some guys that come in really like telling themselves, like they would happily speak about it, like they didn't want to grow at all, they didn't want to do this and that. But like when they get here, they do it, and it's like they kind of didn't realize what they're getting into. In a good way, they realize they start growing and they're learning more. And it's like, it's just so funny because these were the guys, and like not too long ago, were saying that they were never going to do this. Sorry. So to be able to see guys that were saying that now just thriving is really just an incredible thing to watch and be a part of.
That's honestly so geschmack. I love that. Mark, what about you?
Yeah, so I'll focus on the Gemara aspect of it. When I got in, especially in high school, like you're like your class, you take notes, and like at the end of the day, like you're done. Like you maybe review once or twice. But especially going to yeshiva, what I didn't realize was that when you come back the next day, everything builds up on each other. So if you don't retain what you learned from the previous day, you're not gonna do well the next day. So a big important aspect that I learned on the hard way, unfortunately, was you have to do chazar and you have to review every day, and you have to treat your day properly. If you go to sleep at 2 a.m., like you're not gonna wake up for shot because you're just not gonna have a productive day the next day. So a big aspect that I had to learn was how to prepare for the next day. You're not just focusing on that day; you're focusing for 2 days, 3 days in advance already. So every day's got to be planned out.
It's a good point. And in Judaism, the day really starts at night, which is a concept which basically what you're saying is that, if you go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, yeah, it's the day before, but you're not waking up, ready to jump out of bed the next day. So it's a very, very good point. Eli, what about you?
Everyone's talking about like the gradual, you work into it, whatever, but what shocked me was like first day, just everyone's just so excited to be there and just like start a new chapter in their life, or just the excitement of you're independent for the year, like everyone's just happy to be there. It's just like, I think it's just a general level of increased happiness versus just like because everyone's just happy to be here.
That was short and so sweet and so simple. It's just yeshiva is it for a lot of people. It's like the greatest year, or if you're lucky, 2 years of your life, and it's really, really great time. And now I'm going to throw another question at you guys, which I'm actually very curious to hear both of your answers, or not both, all of your answers. Which is, if you could go back a year, and you could talk to yourself a year ago at this time, what would you say? I'm going to start with Moshe.
Can I get a second to think on it?
Sure, Mark.
I would say build good habits. Habits is what kind of creates like the base of your day. And if you don't have like your day lined up accordingly, if you don't build those early habits, right, going to yeshiva, it'll be good. It'll be amazing. The guys here are great, and every guy is gonna uplift you. But if you're not sticking to a schedule and you're not you don't have those habits already built in, it's gonna be difficult at first. But I would say definitely build good habits.
Totally love that. And if people could see on the screen, Moshe's really thinking hard about this one. So I'm going to go back to the Shraga Bush for some. We'll come back to you, Eli.
For me, I'd say probably like find hobbies. Because there's a lot of free time in Israel. Like you have a very long lunch break. In high school, most of my time was just consumed by, I don't know, just school events or sports practices. So like there wasn't much room for like, all right, what really are my hobbies? So like my whole week was filled. Now you have a lot of free time. You're like, what do I do with that free time? Kind of like what Mark was saying. You like once you find that structure, you also find the right things to do within, like so finding like reading in your free time versus just like, oh, you got home from a long day of school, I'm just gonna sit on the couch and go on my phone for the rest of the night. So it's like you have to pick certain things up, you know.
Love that. Especially, I know a lot of people like to pick up guitar. They like to pick up playing a lot of instruments. And honestly, I've seen people pick up haircutting. That's a good moneymaker in yeshiva if you want to support yourself. So there you go. Moshe, can I throw it back to you, or do I have to go? Do I have to go to Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what I'd say 12th grade, but like if I was to go back and I talk to my 12th grade self, I'd just say like maximize the time you have back in America, and then once you get to yeshiva, it's all gonna work out. And like even though it's scary and it's gonna be hard, and you don't have your close friends with you, but it's all just gonna work out. God's always gonna be with you no matter what happens, and you're in the right scenario. You are where you're meant to be, and just maximize your time, maximize your breaks, and just keep growing.
That was great. Good. I like that, Moshe. You put some thought into that one. Now, Caleb, back to you.
Yeah, I think I would tell myself probably just to learn a little bit smaller things, like, and also like maybe use your phone less, smaller things that will help you when you get to yeshiva, because it's so important to start the year off running. And like when I speak to Shana Bet guys, they say the biggest difference is obviously when you come to Shana Bet, you can literally just start like right away. You know where you are, where you're at. So I think what I would tell myself that whatever you think you could do to help yourself when you get here off rip, I would have to just to myself say like learning, using the phone less, and other smart decisions of that nature. Yeah, even if it's not such big ones, but start small, and then when you get here, you'll go bigger.
Slowly but surely. That's really key to success. And like, it's not that you have to take on something crazy. It's not like you have to start your own morning seder when you're in high school. It's, find something small. And then obviously once you get to yeshiva, you build off of that. So the next thing I actually want to get a little deeper in is the irrelevant things, or how about this? The things in the decision process that that should not be the main parts of the decision process, which means, and I'll spell it out for you guys. And I want to start with Caleb on this one. I'm sure in your decision process last year, you were thinking about certain aspects of each yeshiva that now that you're in yeshiva, you're like, wow, that is so irrelevant in the yeshiva decision process. Do you have any of those things? And if so, what comes to mind?
Yeah, so this might be a hot take. And also, honestly,
I love hot takes. Give me one. This is going to help the podcast go viral.
It's very much also, I think, dependent on the person. But for me, I would say the location, just because once considering that most of the yeshivas are all within a certain area, and within most of them are within a certain area, and most yeshivas, you have the essential things. If you understand that you're in yeshiva to be in yeshiva and not outside of yeshiva, then you really just, not that the location is not important, but the emphasis on it I think is a little too much, and that it's really about what the yeshiva has to offer in their building and in their base medrash. So if that's like what's near the yeshiva is of course always a great perk, but what's most important is obviously in the building, in the base, and therefore if a yeshiva speaks to you so much, but it's not in your ideal location, I don't think that should ever stop someone from going to that yeshiva.
That is not a hot take, and I know I had a few head shakes. So, and I'm the one that could see it. I don't think if you're not the producer.
I think
I'm throwing it back to Moshe. I saw that smile on your face when he said the thing about location. So, talk to me about your thoughts.
I personally, I do think it matters, even though 100% like you should be locked into the yeshiva. If you are all the way in like some random place and everyone's in Yerushalayim, so like if you want to be with your friends or you want to see your friends and you're like 4 hours away from them, it's still very, very hard. So I still think location matters. I don't think it matters so much, but I still think it matters like a tiny bit, where it's like if you want to go and see someone, you're able to go and see someone. You don't also want to be like in the center where you're going to be distracted every single second because someone's going to be coming to your yeshiva. Yeah, I mean that was my rebuttal to like why.
That's totally fine. Now give me.
Wait, can I make a clarification?
Yeah, Caleb, please.
I was just saying that obviously it's important, but I don't think it should be, unless it's literally that's the one thing, the difference between two yeshivas. I don't think that should be a thing that's stopping you from going.
Yeah,
valid.
100%.
Shalom al Yisrael. Now, Bamosha, do you have your own thing on yeshiva?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a hot take or not. I personally don't think like the rooms matter so much just because you're really never there. I remember me personally, I was like looking at the campus tour, like, oh, how's the room look? How's the shower look? Of course, it matters to a sense because you still need to be able to sleep in order to function the next day. But as long as it's like functional enough where it's like I could sleep, I have enough space, and I have a little room for myself, then I think that that's good. Just because you're really never in your room besides for like an hour or two a day and when you sleep. Most of the day you're out in cheer, you're in the base, or like you're doing whatever. So that was just something I would say is like something that's not so important. Still a little bit of importance, but just not the icker.
Very valid point. I think people get so lost in that. It's just like, oh, how do the dorms look, this and that, and this school had, lives in a hotel. And at the end of the day, if you're really taking your time in yeshiva and seminary seriously, it's not so important. I see the laughs over there. Okay, I'm gonna throw it back to Eli. What was your overrated decision thing?
I don't think I have one.
Wow, straight shooter.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, fine. Throwing it back to Mark now.
I'm gonna echo Moshe and say like broaden it a little bit. I'll say the amenities. Again, they matter to a sense. But like let's say like your school's like you don't have a basketball court, you don't have like a music group, you don't have like a big gym. During your free time, you'll find ways to do it, guys. I mean, again, I'm we're blessed. We have two beautiful basketball courts, a gym and everything,
And a music room.
Yeah. But guys find ways. On your off time, people play tennis at a park nearby. People will go out to a beautiful gym in the mall, like 5 minutes away. Like you find ways to get what you want, even if they're not directly located within your campus. So again, I looked at amenities going in, but it wasn't like the main goal. Like the main goal for me was like learning other stuff, but like amenities shouldn't be like the main reason why you shouldn't go to a certain yeshiva.
It's such a good point because, like, at the end of the day, every yeshiva has their break time, and if you want to go out and take advantage of some other location that has a thing that your campus doesn't have, you'll have the opportunity to do that. And I'm also going to echo something that we haven't discussed so far in the podcast, which a lot of people do not realize before they come to yeshiva. They think to themselves, you know what? I have to go to yeshiva with my boys. I have to go with my friends. And that's actually my next question to you: is that for the people that might be thinking in the decision process, I can't go without my boys, I need to go with my friends. Do you think, I'm going to start with Caleb first, do you think it is a good move to go with your friends to yeshiva or not? And you got to explain.
Okay, so obviously, I think it's very much like depends on the person, depends on the friend group. But my take on this usually is that I think it's important to be around guys that are similar to you. Not necessarily that you knew them beforehand, but you know that they're similar vibes as you, which like I'm not gonna say two different yeshivas, but I'm sure we could all think of two that like where those two yeshivas have completely different vibes of guys. But I don't think that you specifically, and sometimes be worse, not always, that you actually go with guys. So I think it's important that you're going into a social scene which is not so far removed, because then that's like another hurdle that you'd have to climb over. But it's also, but you don't need to go with people that you actually know. If that makes sense.
I'm with you totally. Mark, What about you?
So I think personally, going with friends to yeshiva could be a massive upside to your year. Again, going without friends, I totally respect it, and it's an amazing thing. Again, it also, like what Caleb said, it also depends on the friend group / person. But I think going with friends to yeshiva could, especially if you have a good group of guys in high school, going with them could uplift the whole chevra. And again, going without friends is totally respectable, but I think going with friends could, if you do it right, make your year so much more better.
1000%. It's if you go with the right group, it's like a disclaimer you have to put over there. It's like if you know that there's certain guys that are going to yeshiva and you have a thought in your mind like maybe I shouldn't be with them, rethink that. Eli, what about you?
Similarly to both what Caleb and Mark said, the yeshiva that's right for you is probably also going to be right for kids very similar to you. So if you find the yeshiva that you like but you don't know anyone going, you're going to find guys that are similar to you because the yeshiva is directed towards those type of kids. And also coming from out of town, like it's Maryland, so even if I were to go with like school friends, there's not so many of them that like it's very split up. The most guys from Maryland that are at one yeshiva is 4. So like as long as you have those 1 to 2 very close friends or people you know you can count on. Wherever you go, you'll be able to figure it out, and everything will be fine.
Such good points right there, Moshe.
Yeah, I think this specifically actually talks to me a lot because when I was making my yeshiva decision, I remember journaling for about an hour or two about if I should go with my friends to a certain yeshiva or if I should go to Mevaseret without my close friends. So like a lot of my close friends went to a different yeshiva, and I actually chose Mevs because I'm a very strong believer that like what works for you isn't going to work for your whole friend group, and you're focusing on yourself this year, and that means that you have to go where is best for you. So I really remember like just like thinking back to it. I remember like telling myself, is it better for me to go to this place or is it better for me to go to Mevs? And I decided it's obviously better for me to go to Mevs because that's where I'm going to grow the most. That's where I'm going to get the best connection with rebbeim, and that's where I'm going to get the most growth out of my year. And also, just something to add is like there's pros and cons to this, but like when you go without your friends, you're able to completely recreate yourself and shape yourself into a new person because you don't want to be stuck as like, oh, you were the high school kid that did this certain thing back then, and you're always going to be remembered for it. Now you're able to be like, this is who I am in yeshiva. I'm this person, and I'm going to be able to go back and be like, I grew this much. When you're stuck with your old friends, you're always going to be stuck as that old person. Not always. I didn't mean to like put it like that, but I'm saying it's just like you're going to be able to recreate yourself into an image that you want to be recreated as because you grow so much and you change so much within yeshiva. Then obviously you're going to find your friends in yeshiva, people you sit next to, people in cheer. Obviously, just I forgot who, but someone said like the yeshiva that's right for you is obviously going to be right for the other people, and all the values are basically going to be the same. Meaning that it's really just it's just everyone's very open with each other. I know, especially in Mavs, just like everyone's able to just talk with each other. It's not like, oh, there's this clique, there's this thing, there's this clique. Even though it's a really big yeshiva and there's obviously like a little friend group thing, but everyone's very friendly with each other and we all talk to each other and we're all very like open and nice and kind and like, so it really just all worked out for the best. And yeah.
That's awesome. It's a very good point because a lot of people sometimes think to themselves, and it's important to think that, you know, if I'm choosing to go to a yeshiva and the people that I'm going with, they're probably not the chevra of guys that I want to take with me from high school because they're going to hold on to all those things that what you were doing in the past and so on and so forth. And if you want to kind of reinvent yourself, it could be a very beautiful thing to go to yeshiva with fewer friends or even by yourself. The last question for now that I'm actually going to ask you guys is I want you to really hit this point home. And I'm gonna start with Caleb first, that if someone's listening to this right now, and hopefully a lot of kids that are in their decision process are listening to this, if they're bugging out at this point of the year, because we're putting this episode out in the beginning of February, which is within about a month of acceptances and decision time. If they are bugging out, what would you tell them?
I mean, firstly, I would say, of course, like Hashem has a plan. That's Pashut. But sometimes even in high school, it's hard to understand that. But if one does understand that, that obviously makes the whole process a lot easier. But if they're, I was saying they're bugging about getting into a certain place, or even once they get in, then going to Israel.
Not bugging out once they get in. It's more just in the decision process. Sometimes it's like you hear all the noise. This person's like, go to that yeshiva and that. Like, talk about that.
Honestly, like I didn't do this, but what Moshe said he did is journaling, spending time with yourself, which unfortunately nowadays is like no one really does that. But to just sit in a room alone, write, think, and with no distractions, because like distractions is what gets in the way of you making your proper decision. Just really spending alone time, because this year is about you working on yourself. So you have to know yourself, and there's no better way to do that, to really take some time alone, think, be thorough about it, with no one chirping in your ear. Make that decision and come out as confident as possible.
It's such an important point, as you were saying. Like, a lot of people do not spend time with themselves today, unfortunately, with the world we live in, and especially when you're in high school and you have all this going on, and it just stop, take a second, deep breath, and realize like, okay, like, let me figure out this decision. I'm gonna throw it back to Mark. What do you got?
I'm gonna say trust your gut. If your gut tells you to go somewhere and you think that's gonna be a really good fit for you, I think that's a beautiful thing. I think you should really follow your gut. Again, your gut could be wrong, but I think really trusting yourself, and you have to know yourself. If you don't know yourself, you're not gonna make the right decision. If you're factoring all these friends, oh, I'm going here, you should go with me. You got to be a leader. You got to know yourself and know where you're gonna fit best. And yeah, that's what I got.
It's a very important point. You got to, at the end of the day, sometimes when you just don't know a decision, like you just stick with your gut and hopefully it'll be the right decision. Eli.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with both Caleb and Mark, because I do have a friend that everyone was telling him to go to one place. He went to the other place and it turned out perfect, and he probably would not have enjoyed himself as much at the yeshiva everyone was telling him to go to. So you definitely have to go with your gut and know yourself. Take some time to yourself, figure it out. Also, reach out to guys that are there right now that you know similar to you. Reach out to rebbeim, because no better person to know what a yeshiva is like than the rebbeim who create the yeshiva. And you just have to trust that everything will work out, and follow what is leading you, or like what's more appealing. If you believe that, all right, everyone's telling me this place is good, but you really want to go to another place, but now you're kind of getting yourself convinced to go to the place A, then don't. It's probably not going to work out that way. Just follow what you truly feel.
It's a very good point. And like, just like your friend, I don't know who he is. Shout out to our nameless Javier. You know what? You want to shout him out?
Yeah, he's actually at Mivaseret, Akiva Kugler.
Love that. Akiva, hopefully he's going to listen to you. Tell you, Mivaseret guys, you tell him to listen to this episode after. You got a big special shit shout out right there. It's that at the end of the day, like, you'll hear all this noise, and it's so hard sometimes to filter out, like, because the people sometimes are chirping at you and telling you go to this yeshiva, go to that. Like, they know you pretty well, but at the end of the day, like, you know yourself, and you got to stick with your gut. And at the end of the day, hopefully it works out. Moshe.
Yeah, I agree with literally what everyone said. I think if I'm just talking to the audience right now and you're in this position, take a deep breath. Let's do it together. Like right now. All good. You're going to make the right decision. Sit by yourself. You have all the information. Everyone's told you already what to do. All you have to do is sit, think. You know already deep down what you want to do. So now it's just actualizing it without everyone telling you, do this, do that, do this, do that. Everyone's like fighting you, like, oh, just chill, relax, you're good. You are just make the decision. Everything that happens is gonna be for the best. You know that. You did ishtadla, you put in the effort, you have all the information. Everything after that, just be talking to Hashem. It's gonna be for the best. Trust God. You're gonna go to the right yeshiva. You're gonna grow, and everything's gonna be amazing. And yeah, I just give a bracha. Like hopefully, if anyone's going through this, you're good. You got this, and God's gonna help you, and you're gonna have an amazing, amazing time in yeshiva.
That was awesome, and I hope everybody, by the way, that just listened really took that deep breath, like really, let it soak into your neshama and let it hit. As we come to close on this episode, first of all, this has been phenomenal. You guys have been awesome, and the advice that you gave has been very tangible and very practical. And I feel like there are probably certain things that maybe I didn't ask you guys that might be on your mind. Okay, so I'm gonna throw it back to you guys. I'm gonna start off with Eli, then I'm gonna go to Mark, Moshe, and Caleb. What are your parting messages? It could be about anything that I didn't touch on. Anything else you want to say to the people that are listening to this?
I'm gonna start off by saying, like, we definitely touched on it a little bit, but the importance of creating a connection with your rebbeim is huge. Like, I know people that are still in contact with their rebbeim from like 10 years ago. It's very, very important. They'll always the rebbeim you're closest with, they'll like probably be at your wedding. They'll be with you through every step of life. Like, you need to find that rabbi that's perfect for you to be able to carry you for the rest of your life.
That was awesome. Anything else?
Nah, I think
I'm gonna echo that point because it's funny, because obviously I'm in a position where I'm a few more years out of yeshiva and you guys are still in yeshiva, but it's MS. You build that relationship with the rabbi. Shout out Rabbi Schneider in Shraga. He was my Shana Alf Rebbe. We're there talking about sports, playing ball. Fast forward 2.5 years later, he's sitting under the chuppah with me and my wife. It's the most epic thing in the world to be able to have a mentor, and I go to him for business advice, personal advice, and that's the beauty. So for anybody that's listening to this right now that is, trying to prepare themselves for yeshiva, that is something that I highly recommend to not lack the effort into. Find that person you look up to and just cling to them for whatever you need, because that could really, really change your life. I'm gonna throw it to Mark. What we got?
So thanks to Eli for stealing my answer,
Wow.
no. So I'm gonna explain a little bit. The friends you make in yeshiva and the connections you build with your chavra are the connections that are gonna stay with you forever. Like your friends that you make in yeshiva are gonna be the friends that you go to college with, friends you move to the same communities with. So really go to yeshiva where you think like your friends your boys will be like the boys you make for life, and those are like your chavra. So stick to your gut, and make your boys, and yeah, that's what I would say.
It's so awesome to hear that from you. Like in January of Shana Aleph, that you're able to say that like the guys that you make friendships with in yeshiva, because like you haven't even left yeshiva, you're still there, right? But like there's a certain, what is that?
No, in yeshiva you get like a certain feeling like, oh, these guys like the guys that I want to be around. I want to be around the guy that it's just like me. Like he wants to grow. He wants to play ball. He wants to all the stuff that you like to do. You make friends that you think you're gonna keep for the rest of your life. And I mean, Baruch Hashem, I'm in Mavs. I love it, and the friends I've made are guys I'm gonna be around the rest of my life. So
it's so awesome, and grow those relationships, because it's at the end of the day, it's funny because I can look back and vouch for this. Like you're speaking MS. Like my friends that were at my wedding, the majority of them I did not know before I got to yeshiva, and my roommates and everything. And that's the beauty about yeshiva. And this is one thing we didn't even talk about, which is about rooming. For example, when you have a chance to pick your roommates, I personally recommend people do random sometimes. Like my roommates, I did one person I knew. I do two people I didn't know. One guy was from LA. One guy was from England. I would never have ever come across a guy from England in my life until I was forced to room with him. But that's the beauty of yeshiva, that you get to make relationships that hopefully last a lifetime. So that was a really, really awesome answer. Moshe.
I guess I'll just start off with like this quote that I heard from a rebbe in ninth grade. His name's Rabbi Rose. Happiness isn't a happening, it's a choice, which means that if you want to be happy in life, which is ultimately a goal that a lot of people have, it's not just going to happen to you. You have to go out into the world and get that happiness. Meaning that when you come to yeshiva, you have to go and make an active choice that I'm going to make the most of yeshiva. I'm going to give the most. I'm going to work the hardest. And when you do that, you're ultimately going to be happy. And when you're happy, you're going to live a way better lifestyle. So I think something that Mevs really helps with is just helping the Talmidim find their own purpose and their own happiness and what brings them joy in life. Something that I took away from, or which is what I'm taking away from yeshiva, and something that's really resonating with me is that I'm actively going every single day, waking up and deciding today's going to be a day where I'm going to bring the joy in my life, joy into my life. So yeah.
That's awesome. It's you have the ability in a certain way to control your happiness, and it's really comes down to your effort and what you put into it. And I don't know who's that rabbi? Rabbi Rose.
Rabbi Shua Rose.
Shout out Shua Rose. Hopefully he listens to this one. Caleb, parting message.
A few things. So firstly, your British roommate was my second cousin, Will Letter. So shout out to him.
Wow, you know that. That's impressive.
Yeah. Firstly, echoing what Mark said, even Moshe mentioned it earlier, how like the friendships here are they're just next level. And I think a reason for that is because when you connect to someone on a spiritual level, it's just the best way to connecting to another human being. And the way it's also just so much easier to connect to others in yeshiva is because a lot of the annoying social stuff that happens in high school and like the cliques and whatnot is just so quickly just gets so dropped here, because everyone kind of agrees like we're too old for this, we're too mature for this nonsense of social circles and whatnot. And like you'll see over the course of 2 or 3 months, the lunch tables are just so much different than they did, like the best way possible than they did on the first dinner you get off from the plane. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that I think, and we also touched on this a little bit before, like lower like the amenities that you have in yeshiva, even if they're the best ones of all the yeshivas, relative to what we have at home, Baruch Hashem, most of us are living luxurious lives relative to the rest of the world. But when you come here, it's just okay. It's not going to be the best. It's not going to be what you're used to. But to let that be the reason why you don't enjoy yeshiva and connect is, I think it would be very chaval. And it's okay. So your shower is a little bit off some nights. So you let that ruin your week. Like I think that would be really unfortunate and really a lost opportunity. And then I think my last point, which I feel like is fitting to end on this, is that it's called Israel Gap Year. So Israel, first word. I think being in Eretz Yisrael is really, there's nothing like it. It's like when you get here, there's an aura to the land, like for lack of a better word, like you really feel it. Like there's people that like they come out when they come to Eretz Yisrael after a long time, they kiss the ground. Like maybe when you're younger, like you're kind of like that's like stupid, like you understand that. But then after being here for like 5 months, you like really, when you connect, it's just you understand why people come off their El Al plane and kiss the ground, because there's really, the land here is so holy. You feel it, being in a land surrounded by Jews that all, even though unfortunately there's a lot of division, we all have the same goal at the end of the day. And it's really just, there's nothing like it. And it's such a slice to be here, and to make sure to not take it for granted. Yeah.
Phenomenal point. And there's no better place than to take that gap year, which is really, and I'm going to say this, and people tell me all the time, it's not a gap year. Why would you say the word gap year? It's a growth year. Tachlis, it's a growth year. It's a year to find yourself. And it was just once I started the page and I realized that it's really a growth year, it was just too late to switch it. So we keep it as a gap year, but we tell people it's a growth year. Totally fine.
Yeah.
But it's to that point. Like if you took a yeshiva and you took all the yeshivas and you surrounded them by, let's say, Madison Square Garden in New York City, and you put it there, the effect would not be the same. It's something about the land, the rebbeim, the Avi Ra, the air. It just, you can't compare. And it's the greatest year or years of your life in a certain capacity. Obviously, life keeps growing and more amazing things happen. But in terms of what's in front of everybody that's hopefully listening to this podcast, just get pumped, get excited. And hopefully for everybody that's listening to this, they got that clarity, or they're getting more clarity. And if they want to reach out to any of you guys, send me a message, send me a DM. My email is going to be in the description of this episode. Like really, that is the goal of Israel Gap Year. We connect prospective students with students, and we are here to help. So for anybody that any parent or anyone that wants to speak to any of you guys, and also the other ambassadors, they could obviously reach out to me. So as I started with a little bit of a thank you, I want to end with a thank you for you guys. Like you guys took the time out of your lunch break. You only get, about 2.5 hours off in the afternoon, and you did it to give back. So this is your chesed for the week. Now you get off. Kidding. No, you still got to do chesed. Important. But really, thank you guys so much. And Bezrat Hashem, this will make a big impact on everybody. Sure, please.
Thank you so much, Avi Proctor, for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Avi. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no gap here.
You guys are so nice. You're so nice. Okay, that's a wrap. We'll see everybody soon. That is a wrap for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I just want to end off with one point. If you got to this point in the episode, I really appreciate you guys sticking around and listening to all the episodes that we put out on the BEN podcast. But just my personal tip for anybody that's listening to this that might be really in it in terms of the decision process, whether you're a parent or a student, is that it's going to work out at the end of the day. I know it's stressful. I know it's hard. You really lack the clarity. Where am I going to go? Where's the perfect place for me? But at the end of the day, if you really think and you put thought into your decision, Bezrat Hashem, it's all going to work out. You're never going to be in yeshiva next year thinking, what would it have looked like if I was in that place? It's a natural thing to be nervous, and it's totally understandable. And if you need help with anything in the yeshiva decision process, reach out to me. I'll connect you with the students. That is literally why I created Israel Gap Year, to pair students in Israel with prospective students and also parents. And also I'm here. I meet with a lot of people all the time to help counsel them, to help them figure out exactly where the right place for them to go is. So thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, if anybody that you know could benefit from this episode, feel free to share with them. And we'll see you guys in next week's episode. All the best, everybody.